Mark my words, this is a turning point for people who use Sony cameras, and we need to be aware of that. Hello everyone, my name's Josh from Videos by Josh, and today is a big day, a turning point for Sony shooters, both photography and video. Today, Sony announced that they will be releasing their first ever paid update for a Sony Alpha camera. That's right, on November 28th, 2023, Sony announced that if users of the A7IV camera wish to add custom grid lines to their cameras to help them shoot in more vertical orientations, that they would be able to do so after paying a $150 USD fee. Now, this is important because I don't want to bury the lead here. This is a turning point for Sony shooters. In the past, Sony shooters like myself have relied heavily on updates for Sony cameras to keep them up to date with new and innovative features that Sony's pushing out. And for the existence of the Alpha lineup, since 2013, these updates have been free. It's more common than not to provide updates to technology free of charge because the upfront cost of this technology, these cameras and these lenses, are very expensive. So Sony choosing to now charge for one of their updates is a big deal. This new custom grid license from Sony will allow A7IV users to import up to 4 custom originally created grid lines onto the camera that can be displayed on the electronic viewfinder or the rear LCD for creators to capture more consistently oriented photos. Sony cites, and I quote, that this update will be very useful to staff at schools, photo studios, theme parks, cruise ships, malls, etc., as these individuals will now have the ability to update their cameras with ease and utilize this tool for quick and precise, more professional shots. Sony's looking to market this feature essentially to high-volume photo jobs that prioritize efficiency over creativity. Sony later went on to say that imported custom grid lines are replaceable and color grid lines are available. Once grid lines are registered, it can be displayed via HDMI output as well, and after shooting, users can check their images with the grid lines overlaid on EVF and LCD. As someone who's done a lot of headshot and standard studio photography in his career, I could certainly see the use for grid lines and these types of monitoring tools, especially if you're just using a camera and you're not using a tether or a bigger screen. Being able to see, the way your shot is set up and symmetrically how everything is lined up is helpful. And that is all the functionality that this update will add. It's completely optional for A7IV users, and that's all you get for $150 is the ability to do grid lines. Now, they haven't released the actual implementation. There are no working shots of this update on the internet currently, just some example stills, but Sony says that this update will be available for download in spring 2024. Creators with this camera will be able to download it from Sony's upgrade and license management suite. We're going to dip quickly into subjective response to this update, and that is that $150 is a lot of money for some overlays. 4 overlays is the entirety of the license, $150 USD to get that capability in what would be without a doubt, an easy push to these cameras, an easy update. So it's clear that this is a money grab from Sony looking to capitalize on potentially some studios who do fast working move or vertical content that could benefit from this. It's also important to note that external tools like Atomos recorders, and even if you wanted to do like a tether view on a computer screen, would also be able to provide these services. So if you are looking for these grid lines, there are other ways to do them. It's not like this is your only option. So Sony might not have a precedence for charging for updates, but a lot of other camera brands do. Panasonic's optional S1 filmmaker upgrade costs the same, but the difference is that adds 4K 60p recording at 422 10-bit HDMI live output and a bunch of other features like LUT support and Vlog. Typically, Panasonic's offerings are quite well featured. And if you go up to bigger cinema cameras like Aries line of cameras, now it's not a direct comparison, but those cameras are traditionally locked down quite heavily by licensing. And even in Sony's cinematography line with cameras like the FS5 and the FS7 in both its Mark I and Mark II lineages, those also had optional licenses for recording like raw output. So you see there is a framework and a precedence for charging for licenses within the camera ecosystem. But there's something about this specific license that seems particularly egregious. $150 US for 4 grid lines. That's it. Personally, I don't like this direction. You're already paying thousands of dollars for the camera and the lens, and you're now charging an additional fee for what is an easy software update. I mean, I could understand if the update was on the level of Panasonic and perhaps we got some crazy changes, like maybe the camera no longer crops at its highest 4K recording, or maybe we get a new version of raw output or something like that, or you know, even some creature comforts like, you know, histograms and waveforms and LUT previews. Like, these are the type of things that people are traditionally more open to paying money for. Assist tools, stuff that was never promised but could be delivered via software. That's where these updates are key. And yeah, grid lines, I guess they were never promised, so this is a bonus, and you don't have to buy it. You do not, absolutely 100% do not have to pay $150 for 4 grid lines. But it does seem kind of egregious that the price is out there for this one feature. Now, so far, this update is only on this one camera, but I need to point out that this is setting a precedent. Sony now has something to point to when their customers ask, why is this next update also costing money? Well, it's because we now have a precedent for updates costing money in the Alpha series of cameras. And personally, I don't like it. I've never thought it's a good thing to lock down technology behind expensive and largely arbitrary licenses depending on what the updates are providing. Now, on the flip side to that, I completely see the point of view of the manufacturers. They want to make additional money. They're allocating additional resources to upgrading these long-standing cameras. And if you're getting good value, if you're getting new features out of an old body, I think it's within the realm of possibility that a camera brand could charge for that and could charge a hefty fee depending on how transformative it is to your piece of technology. If an update to a camera allows you to use it professionally for an additional year, if it extends the life of the technology, that's worth something. You know, we've become accustomed to free updates because it's what we've been conditioned to expect. Updates for these cameras and cameras adjacent to the Sony system have been free for a long time, over a decade. And it's those free updates in part that allow the upfront cost of the camera to remain more palatable. We're going to be paying a high price for the camera and the lenses, and therefore we want to be supported by the brands we are choosing to affiliate with. So while I'm not as put off by the cost of this license as, say, the cost of the Kodak film camera that was just released, I think that this symbolizes a strategic change in the way Sony's going to start bringing licenses into their creative ecosystem. And I just want to mention again that this is $150 for 4 grid lines. That's it. It's just an overlay. It's something that basic monitoring tools have been able to do for years. And if Sony is starting out of the gate charging $150 USD for this simple update, imagine the costs that they could justify for a proper update down the road for some of their flagship cameras. But what do you think about Sony's new I can't help but laugh when I say it, their $150 update to the Sony A7IV that adds a few grid lines? You can clearly see, you could probably tell in my voice what I think about it, but more importantly, I want to hear what you think about it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know. I read every single comment. I really do. Let me know what you think about this update and Sony's general strategy as a whole. What do you think is going to happen from this? Is this a precursor to something else, a shift in strategy, or is this a one-off that truly is just for those high-volume photographers? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you in the next video.